big and strong. So, show your strength. See, this way, you can tell kids to put power, but it's much easier if they can imagine. See? So, ha! Pull! Turn! And then the next stage, if you introduce the walking stance, but it doesn't matter if walking stance is not precise at this early stage. What's important is that they take big steps. Perfect. We're giants, so we're going to take big steps. Ready to step forward? Let's count. Ha! You're a giant. Do a big step. So the reason for making big steps is not because it's the proper way to do it. It's because we're giants. They're in a make-believe world. This is the power of morphing. Okay? And you go backwards. And then you say, I wonder if these giants can punch while they're walking. Let's try. Hana! Tools! And so on. Okay? So that's how you do the giant's game. Right. Excuse me. Right, so I'm going to show you some slides in a moment, but I'm going to show you about progression of skills. And you saw there that I combined skills. You see, this exercise in the twisting, it combined the skill to do that. And I progressed the skill. I did a skill and it went more and more and more. Now, in this course, I'm going to focus on two things. One is how we develop. Actually, before I say that, I'm going to tell you a secret. This one bit of advice I'm going to give you. Just one bit of advice. This is probably the only thing you need to hear to become a successful Taekwondo Kids instructor. Just this one thing, if that's the only thing you take away, that will be perfect. Okay? The important thing is this, and remember this because I don't want to repeat myself.
Let me see you. Okay.
Okay? You got that? Good. Okay? Now, I did that accidentally on purpose, the mute. Okay, there is no secret, because what is success? Success is subjective. It depends on the person. What's successful to someone else is not the same to me or anyone else. Some people, success is producing future world champions. For some people, it's having a big, really big, popular school and making lots of money. For me, success is if I can help every child that walks into my dojang to build self-esteem and to prepare them for a better future. Because a lot of them will not continue with Taekwondo. You hope they do, but you know realistically a lot of them won't. So what we can do is at least teach them that developmental process. And that's another thing that the kids program focuses on. The developmental process and building their self-esteem. Two key points, but there's other things, of course, developing motor skills, etc. But the developmental process is really important because it is inclusive. Whatever level the student's at, whatever level, you try to improve them. You move them forward. If you are achievement-based, if you focus on achievement, you have to attain this level and try to get everyone up there, then you might have problems, because the ones that find it really hard, they feel that they're inadequate, and that's not good for their self-esteem, you see. And the thing is, if you're developing, you're improving, you're going in the right direction, so the attainment comes automatically. Okay? Right, so I'm going to start the PowerPoint presentation. Now, a lot of you have asked me questions. You've been sending questions. I'm going to try and cover the questions during during the course, so that, you know, you don't have to answer them. They'll be answered during the thing. Okay, so bear with me one moment. So I'm going to start the PowerPoint slide. Okay. So, like I said, I will be answering the questions during the course. And any question that we can't answer, we will do our best to answer during the afterwards. I'm going to be sending, oh, I have a problem. Can you see my screen? No, it's not shared, is it? Is the screen shared? Can you see my PowerPoint?
Not yet, sir.
No? Okay. So... Okay, so we will be sending you lots of information after the course. So anything that's not covered in this course, we will cover. Okay. I'm still not getting any joy.
Almost 8 million subscribers.
Sorry?
8 million. 7.7 or 7.57.
Okay, I don't seem to have any
like
control of my
a
Zoom.
lot of million people, but only like 4K show up each time for
Okay,
his
here we
stream.
go. Full screen.
Because he's such an old YouTuber and he does such diverse things that people.
Can you please turn your microphones off, because it disturbs the lesson. Okay. Right, now you should see the slide coming up, yes? Do you see the slide? Yeah?
Yes,
Good.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. So let's get started. Now, I'm going to talk about skill progression. Before we start, it's a good idea to be on speaker view side by side. Yes? Do you get that? Speaker view side by side. Do you have that option?
Yes, sir.
No. Speaker view side by side. Okay. I'm going to have to stop the share just a moment. Okay. So hopefully you can see a screen of me and a screen of the slide. Okay. Now, skill progression. I still don't see my screen.
I guess we are seeing it.
Beg your pardon. Works perfectly when I practice, but I don't see my screen at all. Okay. Now, right, I got it, sorry. Okay, now, skill progression was covered by Fabian last week, and he didn't have time, you know, in 2 hours, there's very little you can teach. So he couldn't do anything more than he did. So that's why I covered it today with that game. Now, skill progression is a bit like, you know, when a sculptor develops his sculpture, it starts off being very rough, and then it gets more detail and then fine detail at the end. Now, the sculpture wouldn't work on detail on one piece before not working on the other. So it's a gradual process. And the technique is very similar. You see here, the technique goes from being imprecise to precise, okay? Which one's the imprecise one? I think it's this one, because his nose is in the wrong nostril. And he's a senior, so he must be doing it right. Okay, so like I showed you in the game, it didn't matter if they were slightly imprecise at the beginning, but gradually they become more precise. But not just in the coordination, but also in speed, power, and the rhythm of the movement. So that's skill progression. But skill progression can be making a skill more complex, like you have the twisting of the fist combined with the forward-backward motion produces this punching action. It might be imprecise, but you can improve the punching action. So eventually you can get to a walking stance punch by progressing and combining skills. So what we did in the Giants game, we got to this stage and we got to this stage. We progressed the skill to make it more precise. And then when you got a good walking stance and a good punching action by doing lots of repetition, because when you're getting it used to it, the repetitions help to reinforce it. And then you have the walking stance punch developed. We do the same for learning more complex things like Chonji. It's all about breaking skills down. And the hardest part is the turns. So we have 4 turning drills, and turns 3 and 4 are the ones in Chonji. The left turn, 90 degrees, is turn 3, and the right one is turn 4, the one that goes 180. Please turn your microphones off, yes? Yeah. So, there's 2 types, one in walking stance and one in L stance. So it's 2 versions of each, okay? But you get the kids to copy the exercise from the beginning. You move your leg back, turn, move your leg back, and repeat, go back to the beginning. Once they got used to it, then you can do the turning drill where they do the left turn and again, and they go round and round and round. Same for the 180, they go round and round and round. The turning drill is 4 times, but you can do as many as you like. Once they've learned the turn, the next you work on the combinations. The combinations of low block and walking stance punch, and you repeat it as a drill. So that becomes the first combination. Once they've got that skill as automatic, where they're used to it and they don't have to think too much about it, you can add the turns, which have also been rehearsed, and you do turn 3 to make the first segment. You do turn 3, which is left turn, punch, low block, punch, turn all the way to your right, that's turn 4, low block, punch. That makes the first segment. But if you repeat the segment again from where you are, you do the other part, the same segment. So you're doing segment 1 and segment 1 again. You've actually got the first part of Chonji. And you do the same for segment 2 with the L stance. Once you got used to that small segment, you do it twice to do Chonji part 2, barring the punches. You see, you've got the punches there as well. Please note that this plus here, that's a skill in itself. Because when you go from walking stance to walking stance, that's the skill of stepping, the transition. It's from walking stance to L stance. So that's the transition. So that's how you develop Chonji. It's doing the building blocks, okay? Now, to develop skills, we do games and activities. And we can divide them into 2 groups, structured and unstructured. The unstructured ones are like the free play, like playing in the sand or building Lego bricks and things like that, like this diagram. So they can do whatever they like. It's open-ended. It's unlimited. They have to use their creativity and imagination, which was said the last seminar, with Master Izquierdo mentioned this, creativity, imagination. So there's no mistakes. Whatever they do is just exploration, experimentation. But in Taekwondo, we use quite a lot of structured things. Like the game we just played was very structured. Because if you just leave unstructured play, which is really healthy for the kid, and they should be doing a lot of that at home, and maybe in play groups, there is room in Taekwondo, but if you left them on their own to do whatever they like, imagine you leave some kids, say, play for an hour, do whatever you like. You come back in an hour and say, how did you get on? Oh, it's brilliant. Look what I can do. I invented this thing called Chonji. I said, wow, where did that come from? And oh, I invented a kick called Yokchagi. That won't happen. The only way they learn that is through structured. Now, we are not a play group. We're not a babysitting class. So we need to teach them something, and it's Taekwondo and the Taekwondo attitudes. So we do need goals. There will be some limitation, and we do need to teach certain specific skills so that they can learn. And some of them will make mistakes. But we teach with the philosophy that mistakes are good, mistakes are learning opportunities. And that's one of the attitudes we teach to develop that mindset. So since most games are structured, what Master Izquierdo was saying last week is to introduce this, because most games have both. They have structured and unstructured parts to it. So like the game we played with the Giants, it was, well, they had to step when I said, they had to do the punching, they had to copy my movements, but it was creative and they used their imagination, and there were no mistakes because, you know, although I teased them for doing, the weak punches, but that was just fun. There was no correct way. So that's how they learn through play. So use structured material and keep it as unstructured as possible to keep the kids' interest. And as they get older, you'll find that you'll go more to the structured, regimented stuff, which kids actually love because kids love order. So when learning a motor skill, basically, they perform the skill, and it's trial and error. They perform the motor skill, and they either get a result they expected or something goes wrong. But then they get feedback. The feedback could be their proprioception. They feel it's wrong, or they fall over. They see that something wrong happened. Or the teacher says, no, your back leg was bent. So they make adjustments. The information goes in their brain, they make an adjustment, and they perform the skill again. So mistake, adjustment, until they get the positive result. But is there any need to make an adjustment when you got a positive result? Well, yes, because say you're you're doing walking stance, say, and you think, oh yeah, that was a big stance, I felt balanced. But then you think, that was correct, so no adjustments needed. But I like experimenting. I'm going to change it. I'm going to make it bigger to see if it still works. So they make it bigger, and you get a negative result. And you think, when I made it slightly bigger, I'm starting to find it difficult to move forward. So the feedback tells me that. So I'm learning the range, the margin of error that I've got with that technique. So you make adjustments all the time. But obviously, when you've got a positive result, at some point you need to repeat the correct way without any adjustments to, really solidify in your head. Okay? All right, now, this first half of the session, I'm going to speak quite a bit about communication. So when you communicate, I'm going to talk more about verbal rather than tactile, and the body language and the tonality. But as an instructor, it's good to analyze your communication. Think about what, how, when, where. You say the where seems a bit odd. Of course you say it in the dojang, don't you? Yeah, but supposing I had a situation where a child had the dobok the wrong way around. So I could have said it in front of the class where everyone could see and laugh at him. So I waited till he was on the side where no one could overhear and say, your dobok's in the wrong way. Okay, thank you. Okay. So think about those things. Then you analyze more deeply. Now, what's the purpose of communication? You would think so that people understand what you're saying. Well, not always. I know people that say things and they don't want the other person to understand. Not in Taekwondo. I mean, outside. They use complicated words because they want to seem smart. They want to think, I'm superior to you. I've got complicated words. But that doesn't serve us when we're in a dojang. We need to get the kids to understand. So using a word like aggressive, some kids may not understand it. So we say, son, use another word. Can you put on the chat what other things we could say? For some reason, I can't see your chat. So, but it's good for people to share these ideas.
So you could say, why you being so belligerent? No, that's another complicated word. No, you could use words like this. Be gentle in this game. Be nice to each other in this game. Use words. But sometimes they need to learn this word. So what you could do is say, why are you so aggressive? Be gentle. That's aggressive behavior. Be nice to each other. So you're putting both. So they identify this with that word, and you build the concept of understanding that word. Okay, questions. I like to use questions, and I use it a lot in this seminar too. What do you think questions can do? I've put some suggestions. Can you think of anything else? Just put it in the chat if you can think of anything else. But you will realize that questions can be so powerful. Yeah? And if you're not sure about a fact, you just put it in form of a question. What's your opinion? Because like today, I don't want to say, you have to believe in this, you have to believe in that. What I want to do is give you food for thought so that you can make up your own mind. Who am I to tell you what to think and what to believe? I mean, I can help guide you with I got a lot of experience with kids. My mother was a childminder. I've been looking after kids for nearly 50 years, 48 years. And I was a school teacher, qualified teacher. And I've been teaching kids Taekwondo. So I've got a lot of experience. So some of the things I say may be worth listening. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to make up your mind. It's not for me to say. So another thing is when a kid does ask a question, show them the respect to answer them. That's my view. Some parents, teachers, you're too young to understand, too busy, why do you want to know? Why not answer the question? When I was about 12, 13, I was going to school and the bus journey was 1 hour long. And often saw a kid there that was so inquisitive, was saying, Mummy, what is that? What's that poster say? Labour Party. What's a Labour Party? Oh, it's a political party. What's political mean? Oh, it's to do with the elections for the Prime Minister. What's the Prime Minister? And I'm thinking, why is this mother talking about British politics to a 6, 7-year-old? But she answered every question. And if she didn't know the answer, she would say, we'll find out later. 3 years later, I saw this kid grow up. At the age of 9 or 10, this child sounded so intellectual, like an adult. Because the mother, great parenting, honestly, showed respect to the child and answered all her inquisitive questions. Okay. Discussions in class. As you saw last week with Master Izquierdo showed you a picture of an instructor sitting with the kids. Discussion's good. It involves interactions. So it's excellent to do with the kids. And by use of questions, you can still get the material you want to teach them through. And that's called the Socratic method. I'll show you an example. We use it for teaching the stranger awareness. Supposing we want to teach the awareness of the possible dangers of strangers. So they got to know what a stranger is. Okay? So we say, what is a stranger? Okay? What is a stranger? And they say, what would they say? Yeah, you can type it on the chat. Let me see if I can get the chat. Okay, so I find from my experience, they'll say, oh, it's this man with big teeth and he's scruffy. And I'll say, that's because you saw it in a picture, in a book. But there will be kids that know, they've been told by their parents, it's someone you don't know. Good. Now, are strangers good or bad? But that's not a good question to ask, because in a way you're forcing them to think it's either good or bad. There is no in between, and this is not good. Whenever somebody asks me, is it this or that, I'll say, stupid question. Don't ask me questions like that, because it's a multiple choice with 2 answers, of which none of them I agree. So that's how people manipulate. That's how salesmen manipulate you. They say, would you like to buy the green one or the red one? No, I wouldn't like to buy any, thank you. You see? So and manipulative. So I use it because I want to steer them into one thing. I know there's going to be kids that say they're bad because that's how they were taught by their parents. Some parents do that. So what I do is this. I say, okay, I see a parent standing up, one that doesn't come very often, and I say, see that parent over there? Have you seen him before? No. We don't know him, do we? No. He's a stranger. Yeah. That means he's bad. I'm going to tell him. No, wait, they say. I say, excuse me, and I actually go up to them and speak to them. I say, even if it was a stranger, I say, excuse me, my students have told me you're bad. And they go, no. And I said, what do you mean? You told me they were bad. They say, no, some of them are good. Some of them? Well, if you think about it, probably most of them are not going to harm you. Okay? So we need to educate. Now, I'm not steering them to trust strangers. By all means, no, because when we carry on with this dialogue, what happens is that, can you tell if they're good or bad? They say, yeah, I can tell. And then I say, well, sometimes when they look mean, they're actually quite nice. And when they look nice, they're trying to trick you. I said, and what can they do? They can take you away. And the thing that we focus on is to teach them the dangers of them trying to take you away. Okay? So we do role play. We do role play where I show them all the tricks, like, oh, I've lost my puppy. Can you help me find it? And then they feel sorry. Okay, you look over there. I'll come with you. And there's so many tricks, and they have to learn by trial and error. You try all these tricks, and they start to see the tricks. That's how they get wise. They get wise from experience. What better experience? You don't put them in the street and say, if you get abducted, you will learn a lesson. No, we abduct them in the dojang loads and loads of times. We abduct them in make-believe. It's all fun, okay? But they learn the tricks, okay? So they learn the tricks. Okay. Now, talk about praise. It's good for their self-esteem, isn't it? Yes? You agree? Praise is good for their self-esteem. I put the answer for you because I'm sure you agree. Now, what's the conclusion? And I know a lot of instructors will agree with this. Give the child as much praise as possible. Yes? And there's a movement called, the self-esteem movement in the 80s and 90s. They say, there is no limit to how much praise you can give. The more, the better. But let me ask you another question. Okay? Is healthy food nourishing for the child? Well, of course, it's healthy. It's nourishing. So the conclusion we should make, I would assume, is give them as much food as possible. Come here, kid. There, eat that. This is healthy. Come on, eat more. The more you eat, the more healthy you get. It doesn't work. But is praise the same as healthy food? Can there be too much praise? Well, look at this scenario. This instructor is very generous with praise. Oh, you're very good, very good. You're amazingly good. You're super duper, amazingly good student. So this little girl is thinking, oh, the instructor's really generous with the compliments. I wonder what she's going to tell me. I'm probably amazing too. What about me? Yes, you're a good student. Good? I'm good? Can you imagine her going home saying, Mom, the teacher said I was a good student. So it can get diluted, yeah? Too much might dilute it. That's how I see it, But if you're going to go wrong, if you're going to not get the right balance, for me, it's about getting the right balance. If you don't get the right balance, it's better to make the mistake by giving more praise than they need than less. It's probably better that way, okay? Because sometimes it's difficult to get the balance. All right, now very often we give feedback. The students perform and they need to know how they're getting on. So if they're doing techniques, you say, good. That's fine. It shows you approve of it. It's a positive remark. But it's vague. Good in what way? Compared to what? For who? Is it good for you because you want a high standard? How is it good for me? Maybe I don't care. So maybe I want to have fun. I don't care if I do my punch properly. You see? So good in what way? So it's a good idea to be more specific. So specific feedback. I'm not saying don't say good. All I'm saying is that balance it with specific feedback. So if they're doing kicks, for example, flying kicks or whatever, you could say, well, that was powerful. Your kick was higher than before. You know, things like that. Okay, but sometimes that could be taken as negative. So when it's negative, it's like when you cook food and it's very bland. Now, if you taste my cooking, then it's very, very bland. So I've got to put sugar and spice in it and all things nice. Now, don't worry, that's just me being silly or things like that. But you spice it up. Okay, so what you can do is you can give, beg your pardon, you can, this is the one, you can give them the negative, well, it's negative the way you look at it. Is it negative? When you give them correction, it's positive, it should be seen as positive, but we know that sometimes their self-esteem goes down because they made a mistake, and we've got to change that mentality, I believe, to something more positive. But you can add a bit of spice and say, but it's much better than last week. Now you can say the negative and the positive or the other way around, but I find it's better to say the negative thing first and then the positive after, so they feel good from the last thing you said. Now, when you speak, you have an intention to say something, but sometimes the other side of the coin, like a message, might have another side to it, and it can be interpreted differently to other people. So in this example, we have a child, and she's very confident, and she might not need praise. It's teacher's pet, maybe. Who knows? Oh, it's good to see that at least one of you is putting some effort, which means that she's having a dig at the other students. She's saying, all you lot are not putting effort. This, my lovely student, she may not need to build her self-esteem. This child may need to do so. So by saying that, this one has negative thoughts. She received the message, the other side of the coin. That's a positive comment I made. No, it's negative to the others. So be wary of that. And a good instructor is one that can sense who is in need of praise, who is in need of it. And I say need and I don't say want, because what people want and what people need are often different. You get some spoiled or people that are just hooked on praise, and it's almost like a drug for them. It's they're obsessed with getting attention seeking all the time because they're just selfish that way. So they're always wanting the praise. So try to get the balance. Okay, I want to talk about the word try. Now, in other languages, it may not come across the same, but I know for the English language, the word try has this connotation. Which of these two expresses doubt in the child's ability? Lift your leg higher, or try to lift your leg higher. Which do you think? You can put it on the chat. Which do you think expresses more doubt? Well, let me put it this way. You're sitting next to a colleague and you say, please pass me your pen. Fine. Or you say, please try and pass me your pen. And they think, what do you mean? What are you trying to say? You think I'm incapable of passing a pen? What do you think I am? So you can see that the answer is there. When you use the word try, it means there's a slight doubt. Maybe you say it innocently, but it suggests that, and they might interpret it that way. Okay? So I try not to use try. I'm using it differently here. I'm saying it as a command to someone, try to do it. Is there alternatives? Yeah? Lift your leg higher. This has the implicit message that I expect you to do it. I believe in you. You can do it. If they say, I can't, no problem. Do your best. That's all we can ask for. Please turn your microphones off, please. Yeah. So do your best. What else can we ask? Okay. Now, here, I don't know why she's telling him to lift his leg, because he's doing middle kick and it's shoulder height. So that should be okay. Oh, no, it's not actually. As we all know, middle side kick should be up here. You know, I've been to international competitions and I know how they do it. So that's the way. Sorry, I don't think. Okay. Now, when giving instructions, it's important to be very clear. Okay. So the instruction could be just one off, and it's good to be clear and try not to miss any words out. But when you're making a list of instructions, try not to miss out an instruction. I'll show you an example. In this game, it's a game where they jump from a line and land and mark the spot where they land so that they can compare, not with the others, but with themselves, self-development, compare how well they do and show improvement. But they need to measure accurately. So this is the instruction. Stand with both feet behind the line. But why did I say both feet? Well, because they'll put one foot and I say stand behind the line. I am. Yeah, but the other foot isn't. Put both. So say it at the beginning. Take only one jump, not two or more. So I'm going to say take a jump. Now with adults, you say take a jump and they think, yeah, that means one, because their level of comprehension is more sophisticated. But kids, their comprehension skills are not yet developed. So you have to make it very, very explicit. Take only one jump, and then you say not two, to reiterate, or more. Because, you know, they'll take a jump and they'll jump and jump and jump. Now I say, remember where they land, because I want them to mark it. And when they jump, they might walk around, and then I say, mark your spot. Oh, I've got to mark my spot. So I get them to remember. Yeah, remember to remember. So put your marker only on the spot where you landed. I say that because at the beginning of the game, I've got to show you the purpose as well. At the beginning of the game, I say to them, I want to see who does this well. But I didn't tell them what I'm looking for. I didn't tell them the real goal. Yeah, that comes later. It's really interesting. So I say, only where you landed. Of course, they see the other child put it further, so they cheat. A lot of them cheat. They go, I'll put it forward. So they didn't follow that instruction. And this instruction, leave the marker there, is probably the most important here, because what do? They say, I've done my jump, I've marked it, they pick it up, a lot of them pick it up and go back, because that's how they did it the first time. The first time they held the cone, so they think I've got to do it again. So it's very important to keep this one in and then go back to the line. Now, if you miss this one out, the whole thing breaks down. It's like writing a computer program. Miss one instruction, the computer crashes. Now, this is the beauty of this game. That a lot of them will cheat. So I say, right, sit down. Now, who thinks they did well in this game? Me, mine's the furthest, I won. I didn't say it was a competition. People construct competitions in their mind. And the way we teach in the kids program is we don't enforce the competition. If they want to think it's a competition, fine. They have that win-lose mentality, no problem. But there's some kid that thinks, well, I don't care, I just had fun. Fine. So we don't glorify the winners too much. So the whole point was they had to mark accurately. So I say, okay, here's the real test now. You're going to do one more jump, and I want to know who's been marking properly and see if you can get close to your jump. Of course, most of them cheated, and they go nowhere near where they were jumping before. So that reveals their lack of integrity. It's not so much. They were cheating. Because when we teach the tenets of Taekwondo, when we teach integrity, the nearest thing that we can get the kids to understand is fairness of, games, cheating. So we use that to reveal that. So I say, okay, so you didn't do it right. So another child does it, jumps on the spot. I say, oh, that's good. You followed the instructions well, and you were honest to mark it properly. Okay. All right. Now, something I call false education. When I was writing the kids program with my colleague Spiros Pepis, he's from Cyprus, and we sat down for many hours, sometimes staying up until 5 o'clock in the morning, discussions, like two old philosophers in Greece. So we came up with this term, forced education, because when I showed him my draft, he said, "What's that? You can't say that." I said, "What do you mean I can't say that?" He said, "It's a lie." I said, "Well, it's not true, but it's generally true." "Yeah, but it's not completely true." So it came this grid that I made. Something is only completely true if it's 100% true, like 1 + 1 = 2. And completely false when it's 100% false. But most things in life might be generally true, mainly true, often true, or the other way around. That's most cases in life. It's like that. So it would be wrong to assume. So I'm very careful with my words. I don't say things like, "Oh, every instructor thinks, blah blah blah." Who am I to say every instructor thinks? That's obviously not true. Even if there's 0.001% of a chance that there's an exception to the rule, it's not completely true. So you can say nearly always, yeah? Okay. So look at this statement. Don't talk to stranger, it is dangerous. Any true or false part? Is it dangerous? Well, you could argue, well, the potential danger is there, and the consequences are quite severe. If a child gets abducted, it's serious, but it's very unlikely to happen. It's a bit like being on a plane. You get on a plane, I'll say, "Is that plane dangerous?" They go, "No, it's not. Most flights land, and you're okay." "Yeah, but what happens to the ones that crash?" "Oh, you die, most likely." "Oh, but then it's dangerous to fly." So would you say it's dangerous to fly? If you say it's dangerous to fly, then you'll say it's dangerous to talk to strangers. So maybe we should change. If you think it's not dangerous, why are you saying that talking to strangers is dangerous? Maybe we can rephrase it. It can be very dangerous. You see, the word "can" has stopped this from being forced education. It's so important. You think they don't pick up on these words, but linguistics has an effect on your neural pathways, what's going on, yeah? So even the "don't talk to strangers" bit, is it true to say that we should not let kids talk to strangers? Well, what if they're lost? They need to talk to someone to help them, yeah? So it's important to don't simplify. Why do parents often say "don't talk to strangers"? It's just don't. It's because I believe some of them don't want to bother, or maybe they don't know how to teach them further. You develop the concept of dangers, and like I said before, the real danger is when they try to take you away or do something that is strange. So stranger awareness is not just about stranger. It's also about strange behavior, and that's the most important thing, because kids get abducted by people they know as well. So the real thing is strange awareness of strangeness, strange behavior. Now, recently I was trying to change the text about food, healthy eating, and I wanted to make a statement about junk food being unhealthy, but I didn't want to fall in the trap of false education. So what would you say? Is junk food bad for you? Is it bad for you? Can you please take your microphones off? Otherwise you'll be severely punished. Please, can you remove the people that... Okay, I've got ways of discipline. I'm going to cover discipline later. I will cover discipline after the break. And I'll show you how I deal with these people. Kids, it's different. So, is there a case where junk food is actually good for you? Can you think? What if a person's dying of starvation? You give them some chips And you, oh no, don't give them chips. That's bad for their health. This person would probably get a heart attack in 50 years' time. Doesn't make sense. That moment in time, that junk food is probably the only thing that's going to save that person's life. Okay, be aware though, I don't want to give false education. If somebody's starving and you stuff them with ice cream and cakes and that, they might die of the sudden shock of getting too much sugar. So there is that element. But the food is there, they can take it in the right proportions. So it can save their life. So it's not true to say junk food is unhealthy. When is it unhealthy? When does it take its toll on the health? Yeah, when you take too much of it, or you eat too much of it, or you eat it too often. Now, some kids will do that because that's all that's in their home. So you're telling them, don't eat junk food, and they have to eat it. But you need to tell them that this is the statement I come up with. Maybe you got a better one. Let me know. It is unhealthy if you eat a lot of junk food often. Okay? So, think about false education. One more thing. Somebody asked about telling stories. Is it a good idea? Definitely. Stories, very powerful tool, yeah? But you need to learn how to tell stories really well. So learn how to put emotion when you speak, and don't speak monotone like this and it makes them fall asleep. Okay? All right. Okay, just ignore my little joke. As you probably realized, this grandmaster is crazy.